What up? Welcome to my Kadeen first Goldwarden deck list. This is for EDH, obviously. This guy's a Boros, kind of go wide, kind of go aggro commander, seeing as he's 2 mana. So he's trample, and whenever he attacks, he gets +X until the end of turn, where X is the number of equipped creatures you control. Then if his power is 4 or greater, you draw a card. So he kind of does everything. He pumps, he tramples, he's low CMC, which makes him good for aggro, and he draws cards. Pretty good card. This deck I named Guy Buys Cheap Toys for His Friends and Goes to War, because once we go through the deck list, you'll understand why. So I think the best place to start is the generals. These are the 5 guys in the deck that help. They're like the sides of the commander. They could be secondary commanders. They're kind of in the deck because there's high synergy. So you got Adriana, captain of the guard. She's melee, and other creatures have melee. This means whenever this creature attacks, which would be all creatures, it gets +1/+1 for each opponent you attack this combat. So you pretty much give all your creatures +3/+3 if you're just swinging at everybody. It's pretty useful. There's the Aki Battle Squad, which I put here because I didn't know where else to put it. If one or more modified creatures you control attacks, which your commander or any of your equipped creatures, untap all modified creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. This ability triggers only once each turn. This is just an extra combat on a body. But the cool part about it is extra combat synergizes really, really well with the commander, because it says whenever he attacks. So if you do multiple combat phases, he attacks multiple times, he will just keep getting bigger and bigger. I didn't put those in the deck because I put in 9 removal cards instead. But yeah. So yeah, really, really good card. Bruner Battle Hammer, each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. That's alright. You're mainly playing it for, you may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost for the first equip ability you activate each turn. I mean, the +2/+0 works on a lot of the cards, but also being able to pay 0 once a turn, pretty nice. Ivor Battle Ready is a 5-mana 5/5 with Vigilance, Haste, and whenever it attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of equipment you control to each opponent. This deck runs a lot of equipment, so it's a good kind of burn spell. And then Rayav Mastersmith, whenever a creature you control that's enchanted or equipped attacks, it gains double strike, giving most of your creatures double strike, including your commander, pretty good. On to some other fun categories. We have the guy who really loves, I guess by guy I mean girl, but guy gender neutral. The guy that really loves his one weapon, and it's always just like stupidly strong for no reason, which is Cassandra. And when Cassandra enters, you search your graveyard hand library for the Spear of Leonidas, and you put it on the battlefield. You don't equip it, but you put it on the battlefield. It also has whenever a creature with legendary equipment, probably the Spear of Leonidas, attached to it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. So this is just like a way to tutor a Spear of Leonidas from your deck, put it on the board. You can pay 2, equip it to your commander, make him a little bigger, and because he's trample, you're most likely doing damage, so you're going to be getting more card draw. And yeah, Spear of Leonidas, it's a 3 mana. When it attacks, you can choose one. You can either give creature double strike, which is useful. You can make a 3/2 legendary red horse, or you can discard 2, draw 2. So it kind of does a little bit of everything. It's a good card. There's also your friend who's the needlessly crazy guy, Alexios. It's just one of those alternate win cons I love putting in decks where you play equipment, and it's just like, cool. I hope somebody can deal with this because I don't have to. So Alexios attacks each combat, can't be sacrificed, can't attack its owner, which is you, the player casting it. And then at the beginning of each upkeep, that player gains control of Alexios, untaps it, puts a 1/1, and it gains haste. So it's just going to go around hitting everybody. And you put on some equipment, and that's a really scary card. You could very easily play this as like a mono red commander, similar to Slicer. But yeah, okay, let's go to the more generic categories. This was the first one I added to the deck, actually. Put the soldiers in cards. I just put in a bunch of Start Your Engines cards because I kind of want to try playing with the mechanic, and I don't think it's a bad mechanic in an aggro deck. So Monkey at Raceway taps to give a creature haste, which is really nice in aggro. Burnout Bastronaut, this is just a 1 mana 1/1 with Menace, which is kind of just good. Like, it has start your engines and its text, which is why I'm mainly running it. But it also just is a 1/1 with menace, which means it's very easy to get 2 speed by turn 2 if you see this in your opening hands. Obviously, max speed gets double strike, and you can pay 2 to pump it, which is useful. But yeah, it's mainly there for the start your engines and menace. Kickoff celebrations. This is a 2 mana start your engines. When it enters, you can discard a card to draw 2, which is nice. A little bit of filtering in red. And then max speed, sack it. Creatures and vehicles gain haste until end of turn, which can be nice. Light wheel enhancements is 1 mana start your engines. You enchant a creature or vehicle. It gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. So a lot of the Boros equipment cards also care about auras, which is nice. But also this is just a way to start your engines, and it's pretty playable. Nesting bot, start your engines, and when it dies you make a 1/1. And yeah, I don't know, it's a 1 mana 1/1. You can equip stuff to it if you want. Like I said, the start your engines cards in this, probably not the greatest. Could be replaced with the extra combat cards, for example. But I wanted to try it out. Outpace Oblivion, 3 mana start your engines. When the enchantment enters, deals 5 to target creature or planeswalker, and you can sacrifice it to have it deal 2 damage to each player who doesn't have max speed, which will be most people, but 2 damage is pretty relevant. Perilous Snares, 3 mana, exile a card under it until this card leaves the battlefield. There's a bunch of these. This one just has start your engines. And at max speed, you can tap it to put a 1/1 on a creature or vehicle, which is pretty good. Part of the Road, 4 mana, Vigilance start your engines. Max speed, at the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature or vehicle against double strike. So this is a way to give your commander double strike, which is very strong when your commander is supposed to be getting big. This is a 3 mana, just mana rock with start your engines, and then at max speed you can sack it to draw 2 and discard a card, which is good. It's card advantage, kind of, and it's a rock. Let's actually go to card advantage. So with this category, we have Ikiri. Whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. Very likely to happen, just because, you know, I run a lot of artifacts and equipment. And you can also pay a white on attach an equipment from a creature and tap that creature and it gains indestructible. So this is protection from like board wipes. It's kind of expensive because it's 1 white per creature, but if somebody tries to like kill one of your guys, this is a good way to get around it. We got Armory Paladin, 3 mana 3/3 trample. Whenever you cast an order equipment spell, exile top card of your library. You can play that until the end of your next turn. So this thankfully gives you, I really like cards that say end of next turn instead of end of this turn. I actually shy away from those cards a lot of the time because there's not that much flexibility with how you can play the exiled cards. This one gives you the flexibility of playing it next turn, which is nice. So yeah, this is pseudo card draw. A lot of the card draw on this is pseudo card draw. Astor, look at the top 7, reveal an equipment or a vehicle, and put in your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library. Again, pseudo card draw. Equipments you control have equip 1, vehicles you control have crew 1. So you're mainly playing it for, you technically tutor from top 7, and then all your equipment have equip 1, which is nice. Mary, Esquire of Rohan, has haste, and whenever it has first strike as long as it's equipped, and whenever I attack with Mary and another legendary creature, like your commander, you draw a card, which is nice. And Nahiri, 6 mana 5/4, but it has affinity for equipment, so let's be real, you're not paying your taxes on this card. Whenever equipment creature you control attacks, exile top card of your library. You may play the card this turn. You may cast equipment spells this way without paying their mana cost, which is very, very good, because free equipment, free cards, is very, very strong. And then there's also the Planeswalker Nahiri, which is, you can either make a 1/1 core warrior and attach equipment to it. You can -2 look at the top 6, reveal a warrior or equipment. You do run a decent bit of warriors, but it's also just an equipment tutor. You add it to your hands, or you can -3 to deal damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to twice the number of equipment you control. So there's also just removal on this card. It does a little bit of everything. And then Pure Steel Paladin, whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card, which is just pure card draw. A lot of advantage, and equipments you control have equip 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts, which is very likely with the amount of artifacts we're playing. Let's go to the generic good equipment. These are just cards that I was like, yeah, this is an equipment and it's a good card. So Bloodforged Battle Axe, creature gets +2/+0, and whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of Bloodforged Battle Axe. So in case you're seeing a lot of creatures and you're not seeing a lot of equipment, if you see Bloodforged Battle Axe, kind of solves the problem where you end up seeing it'll just make enough to cover all the creatures you have. Excalibur, this card is giga broken, and you can tell by the price tag because it's a rare from a pretty cheap set. It costs X less to cast for X the total mana value of historic permanents, which are artifacts, legendary, sagas. So this will never be 12 mana. It gives equip creature +10/+0 in vigilance and equip legendary creature 2. So it is locked to equipping legendary creatures, but your commander's a legend. Lion Sash in the deck because I hate every graveyard deck in the game. I think they're degenerate and they should all be banned to oblivion. Every deck should run Bajuka Bog. So for a white, you can exile a card from a graveyard. If it was a permanent, you can put a 1/1 on this permanent, and the equipped creature for the reconfigure cost gets +1/+1 for each 1/1 on this creature or this equipment. So pretty much you play this, you exile cards from graveyards, it gets big, you can equip it to a creature as an equipment, then that creature gets big. It's a good card actually. Lizard Blades is a 2-mana 1/1 double strike. You're mainly playing it to reconfigure to give something double strike. Double strike is very good in an aggro deck. Mask of Memory, when a creature deals combat damage, again your commander has trample. You may draw 2 cards. If you do discard a card, it's card advantage. And Rabbit Battery, this card is surprisingly good because it's a 1-mana 1/1 with haste, which is nice, and everything with like max speed. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has haste is actually really, really good on your commander because it just automatically gets him to 4. Because he's 2/+1 from the creature, +1 for having an equipped creature on board. So you're getting a card draw, you're giving him haste. You can theoretically do this on turn 3. If you have a ramp, you could do this on turn 2. But yeah, this card is surprisingly really good. And then Swiftfoot Boots, because they're Swiftfoot Boots, it's just giving something hexproof is really useful. Mana costs aren't real. This is all your tax evasion cards. Bladegraft Aspirant, Menace, equipment spells cost 1 less. Activate abilities equipment you control that target Bladegraft Aspirant costs 1 less. So that means equipping to Bladegraft Aspirant costs 2 less. Bureau Headmaster, equipment spells you cast cost 1 less. Equipment abilities to activate, so equipping, costs 1 less. Danitha, First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink, just all the keywords. And then Orin equipment spells cost 1 less. Goldwarden's Gambit, affinity for equipment, make 5 2/2s. They gain haste, and then for each of those, you can attach an equipment. So let's say the game's been going on a while. You have a bunch of equipment, you have nothing to attach it to. You just pop this card out, make a bunch of 2/2s with haste, and then you attach all your equipment to them. Pretty useful. Okay, not all, but like 5 equipment to them. What else? Okay, yeah, let's do O for Mirrodin. So if you use Skyfall, you know this means Oracle Tag for Mirrodin. This is just cards that say for Mirrodin because it's a card that makes a creature with an equipment attached to it, which is what your commander wants. And it kind of stops the whole effort of trying to have enough creatures and equipment. You just play a single card that makes a creature and then attaches the equipment to it. So yeah, that's pretty much why every single one of these is being played. This one gives a creature +1/-1. This one makes equipment abilities cost 1 less, which is cool, and has double strike. This one gives a creature +2/+2 flying haste. Whenever equipped creature and at least one other creature attacks, draw a card. Gets +0/+1. If it's your turn, equipped creature has First Strike and Trample. +1/+0 and flying. Oh, and those creatures you control that are equipped, so that's actually pretty good. But yeah, equipped creature is flying. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 whenever equipped creature attacks. If it's the first combat phase, untap each attacking creature. There's an additional combat phase. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control, which if you go wide, this is very good. Mirren Bardiche. Equipped creature gets +2/+1 and has vigilance. Volshock Splitter. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. It's actually really badly statted, like 4 mana for a 4/2. And then yeah, O-Tag, Living Weapon. There are less of these, and I also didn't add all of them because some of them were pretty expensive, and some of them I was just like, I'd rather throw in a better card. So Batterbone, equipped creature gets +1/+1 Vigilance Lifelink. Living weapon, similar to Formyrden, but it makes a 0/0 black Phyrexian Germ instead of a 2/2 Rebel. So the cards you're making are going to be smaller, but also you're pretty much just playing it for a body with an equipment attached. Equipped creature, yeah, gets +1/+1 Vigilance Lifelink. Also equip 5. That's yikes. Just hope your guy doesn't die. Batterskull, equipped creature gets +4/+4 and has Vigilance and Lifelink. You can also pay 3 to return it to its owner's hand. Sure. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has flying. This one's actually one of the better ones. There's just a 1-mana 1/1 flyer. Nettlecyst gets +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment you control. Usually this will be a pretty sizable number. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 for 3 mana. That's a 2/2. That's not the worst card in the game. And then Oracle Tag. This was a dumb joke, aka other cards that do something similar but don't have Living Weapon or Formyrden. Barb Spike is a 2 mana, makes a 1/1 Thopter, and then attaches itself to it. So it's a 2/1 Thopter. This is a 2 mana, make a 1/1 Citizen, and then equip it to the Citizen. It gets +1/+1 and has a white tap, sacrifice it to destroy an artifact or enchantment, which is nice. Danitha is a 5 mana. When it enters, you can attach an or enchantment card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield attached to it. And then Masterwork of Ingenuity. This is kind of here is like you can just copy the Formyrden cards or the whichever. Mauls of the Skyclaves. When Maul of Skyclaves enters, it's attached to a creature. So obviously it doesn't make a creature, but it automatically attaches to one that's probably not equipped. Then an equipped creature has +2/+2 and has first strike and flying, which is good to put on like your commander. Let's go to the removal section. We got a board wipe and austere command. This card is really good. I think there are better white removal cards like Farewell or the one that has cost 1 less for each creature on the battlefield. But this is nice because it can also hit enchantments. Blasphemous Act is here because Blasphemous Act costs 1 mana, deal 13 damage to everything. There's also protection. So Boros Charm. Give all your permanents indestructible. Mainly while you're running it. You could also burn a player for 4. Or give a creature double strike for game. Dispatch is 1 mana, tap a creature, or if you have 3 or more artifacts, which you most likely will, exile that creature. This card could be hit or miss if you don't see enough artifacts, so I guess watch out for that. Path to Exile is Path to Exile. Resistance Reunited is 2 mana, target creature gets +2/+0, +2/+2 until end of turn, and equipped creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn, or equipped creatures. This is kind of like a flawless maneuver. Swords Plowshare, and Eternal Wander because it's my favorite white planeswalker in the game and can probably go in every white deck. Either exile an artifact or creature and then return that to the battlefield under its owner's control, beginning of that player's next end step. Or you can make a white samurai with double strike, or you can choose a creature for each player and then sacrifice the rest. And Unbreakable Formation, 3 mana, creature you control gain indestructible until end of turn. If you cast a spell during your main phase, which, I mean, I guess you could if you want to like go for game, put a 1/1 counter on each creature and they gain vigilance. So that's useful. Yeah, let's go to the sideboard. Or actually, alright, let's cover the 33 lands. We're only running 34. That's because the curve of this deck is very low. So I don't really think you need that many more. Once you see 2, you're pretty much fine. Besides the Amonkhet Raceway, you have Battlefield Forge, can come in untapped. Cliff Drop Retreat. If you comes in on tap, you have Mountain or Plains, Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Fury Calm Snarl. You have to show a Mountain or Plains from your hand, which if you see this early, it's fine. Mountain, Plains, Rogue's Passage makes your commander unblockable or whoever. Rugged Prairie is a filter land. Spire of Industry, pay the life to add a mana of any color, only if you have an artifact, which you likely will. And then Scryland because it's a Scryland. But yeah, okay, let's go to the maybe board. These are cards that I would typically add, or cards that I think would do well in the deck, but I didn't because I want to focus on other themes. Bitterthorn. This is one of those cards I was just like, is this like $10 card really that good enough, like that great in this deck? It's 3 mana, make a 1/1, and when it attacks, it'll die, but you get to ramp one. Just alright, but you don't really care about ramp. Yeah. Blackblade Reforged, equip creatures +1/+1 for each land you control. This is just the generic really good equipment that I considered adding, but I thought there was probably better stuff. Forge Anew, I think is actually a really, really cool card. So when it enters, return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So let's say somebody hits one of your really strong artifacts or equipment, you can bring it back. And then as long as it's your turn, you may activate equip abilities anytime. You could cast an instant, which is really, really strong if you have something like a Swiftfoot Boots on the board, because it's essentially a 1-mana protection spell. And then you may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate during each of your turns. So yeah, you can play something for free. Also, kind of sneaky, really cool thing you can do with this is during your turn you may activate. Let's say you have a bunch of artifacts on board. You can declare attacks. Kadeen will get all of his +X/+X, let's say for like 5 different equipment attached to different guys. You can then all at instant speed before blockers or before attacks after this trigger, attach them all to him, and then it'll get even bigger and it'll go crazy. So yeah, I think this is a really, really cool card. I didn't add it because I thought it was a little too niche, and the protection thing I think I overvalue a little bit, or I undervalue. Open the Armory. There's so many good tutors for equipment in Boros, so mainly just white, but yeah, you can just play those if you want to upgrade, make the deck more consistent. Sigarda's Aid, I thought about throwing in, and then I was like, well, most of my artifacts already just have like comes in attached to a creature, so who cares? SRAM, there's a billion good whenever you cast an equipment or vehicle, draw a card. This is just one of them. So yeah, you could just play that. Two-handed axe, you can give creature double strike, and then you can equip it, and then when it attacks, it double its power. I think there are a lot of equipment you could play. You could probably play this guy as more of a Voltron commander, and just make a bunch of dudes that kind of support him. I decided not to do that though. And then Weapon Trainer, this guy's just, hey, other creatures get +1/+0 as long as you control an equipment. Good. There's very, very strong Anthem effects you can play. Also, if I had to guess, I don't know how, but I believe there's a lot of humans in this. Here we go. Subtypes. A lot of humans, a lot of knights, a lot of warriors. So you can also play a lot of like the generic archetypal upgrades. Going through some of the EDH Rex. Yeah, Soul Ring and Arcane Signet aren't on the list because I just didn't want to put them in. I didn't have the space and I wanted to fully commit. I think if you don't run enough equipment and you don't run enough creatures, your commander will just flop, and that's not good. You want your commander to do the thing. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. It's a pretty good recursion, actually. Unfortunately, it's non-token, and a lot of the things I play say for Mirrodin or Living Weapon. So, obviously, Generous Gift, Fighter class, I think is interesting. It's a tutor you could play. Living Weapon gets +5/+5, has First Strike, Trample, and Indestructible Haste. I think this card was just looks too expensive, like mana value to put into the deck. 7 mana, you want to win by that point. Arden, I think Arden's pretty good. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. That's useful. Obviously, yeah, Chaos Warp, Sword of the Animist, alright card. Wyleth, when it attacks, draw a card, feature or equipment attached to it. Unfortunately, this doesn't really do what the deck wants to do, but if you want to go in that direction, go for it. Celestial Armor is obviously a very good card. So is Colossus Hammer. So is, I'm trying to remember the name, Sunforged Hammer? I think that's what it's called. Codsworth is a very, very strong card, so is Beamtown Beat Stick. Thrain unfortunately also cares about aura, and it's attached to the creature, not in total, so it's not that good. You could play All That Glitters. Yeah, Sunforger, Reaver Cleaver. A lot of very, very good cards in these colors that you can play. A lot of good support cards with all the legends that were printed over time. But yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back next week with, I don't know what, something. I was going to make Calametra, and I was going to make the guy with Cascade effects in Timer, and I was like, and these decks are kind of boring. So I didn't. And I made this guy. But yeah, if you have any commanders you want to recommend me looking at, do that in the comments. And yeah, see you next week. Goodbye.